It's Tuesday, April 17th, and I'm your host, Paula Hersey. On today's show, we talk to State Representative Will Crocker, who updates us on the budget amendments that he has filed for some projects in the town of Barnstable, and we have highlights of the Cape Islands and Southeast Massachusetts 16th Annual Heroes Breakfast, where a West Barnstable resident, a Main Street business owner, a Hyannis firefighter, and a Barnstable Recreation lifeguard were honored. Let's start with some news you can use. DY grad Ross Giacola has been named new football coach at Barnstable High School. A Cape Cod native and former head football coach at Monomoy Regional High School, Ross is the new football coach at Barnstable. Barnstable Athletics Director Scott Thomas, finishing up a 4-month search for a new head football coach, made the announcement Thursday. Giacola, a 2003 Dennis Yarmouth graduate, spent the last 2 years as an offensive coordinator for Cheshire Academy in Connecticut, leading the Cats to a New England Preparatory School Athletic Council Championship in 2016. Code Red is a new emergency notification system by which town officials can notify Barnstable residents and businesses by telephone, cellular phone, text message, or electronic mail about time-sensitive emergency situations or important community alerts. The system is capable of sending messages only to specific neighborhoods or the entire town. Only authorized officials are allowed to access the system. You can update your information on the Barnstable Police Department's website. The system is an enhancement to existing means of communication and a supplemental tool, not a replacement for the systems we have used in the past. Also, public access TV and the town's website, www.town.barnstable.ma.us, will continue to broadcast important announcements. To update your information on the Code Red system, go to www.barnstablepolice.com/reverse-911.html and click the link to the update page. Spring construction work on the Sagamore Bridge has started, and already nerves are frayed and traffic congestion is a nightmare. We had Cape Cod Chamber CEO Wendy Northcross in studio last week to talk about a newly formed coalition to promote the fix, a permanent fix for our 2 structurally deficient bridges, and a petition that is gaining momentum and the attention of state decision makers. Traffic woes on the Sagamore Bridge once again. I'm here with Wendy Norcross, the CEO of Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce, and there's a new fix coalition.
Let's hope.
Let's hope.
There is a new fix coalition.
So let's give a little background to the viewer of a Thursday night, a Friday morning, when the first construction, when they finally, the weather broke and they put up the barrels. I was on Twitter that night, and there was an enormous amount of unhappy folks commuting home or trying to get to the airport or possibly to the hospital.
All of the above.
All of the above. There is a coalition that was actually formed before this day, and you released it just a little bit early.
Well, we did. So we knew this construction was coming. 2 years ago, Army Corps said, we'll be back on the bridges. There'll be lane drops. We have to dig up cement. It's going to be painful, but we have to do it. There's no way around it. So we prepared for that day, and we've been pushing for a plan. We can't just have what's the plan for future bridges come back as, well, there is no plan. That's not a good answer. So Mass DOT and Army Corps have been working on some planning, and we've been meeting with them regularly, and they've been good about communicating what's going on. But we knew this pain this spring would be real, it would be deep, and that maybe we could use that energy to point people to something positive. And fortunately, we had something to point them to. So last December, Army Corps and Mass DOT released 7 different varieties of, we could do these different traffic intersection changes, or new bridge, no bridge. They just tried a whole bunch of scenarios to see if they could bring congestion down. I sat in the room very depressed because it was like, well, this will only do this, this will only do this, this will do nothing. And by the 5th choice, I said, well, we're doomed. And they said, no, wait. So they got to the very last one. They had actually added a seventh scenario that calls for intersection changes on both sides of the canal, and then 2 brand new bridges right next to the existing bridges. The existing bridges would someday go away, but only that combination was going to materially improve traffic flow in the region and gave us some hope. It will improve traffic flow for most of the year except peak season when the world comes to visit.
Right. Well, 2 million to 6 million visitors in 90 days. You're going to get some traffic. Maine still gets traffic.
You just got 2 roads. You have two ways to get here.
In and out.
You got to queue up. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about. There's a petition out there right now, and this petition really is somewhat designed. Number one, for awareness, is that this is an issue. It's not going to go away.
Right.
We have structurally deficient bridges at this point in time. We can continue to repair old aging infrastructure, or we can start to look at the future and how that might kind of come about. So what does a petition actually do?
Right. So the petition really is to get on the radar screen, to become a nuisance to the decision makers up the line. Fortunately, we have all of our elected officials from the Cape and Islands, all the state reps, the 2 state senators, Congressman Keating's office. They're already part of this coalition. But this is a message to Governor Baker, to Secretary of Transportation Stephanie Pollock, to the congressmen that are not in our district, and to Army Corps, quite honestly, to say, we want the fix. You've identified something that looks like it will work. Keep the planning going, finalize the design, get the permitting underway, because all of this work they've done now can feed into that permitting, and let's talk about the funding. Because Cape Cod is too important to the economy of this state and the economy of this country to just let it languish and let these bridges fall into the canal or fall into such chronic repair cycles that nobody lives or comes here anymore.
Or works from the Cape. So having commuted for
untenable.
6 years over the Sagamore and the Bourne, the pain is really real to those employees and those people that run businesses, distributing, those types of things. They can't get product to market. You can't get your employees to the place of employment in any reasonable time fashion.
Correct. And that's really the story. Like I say, the peak season traffic will be there. But what we really are concerned about is the people that live here that have to get to work. Cape Cod Healthcare has a huge contingent of people that come over the bridges every day to come here to work. Gary Sheehan, Cape Medical Supply, he's got people that have to come over those bridges every day. Tony Shepley Wood Products, they need to get over the bridge. Cape Cod Beer, got to get over the bridge. So
Plymouth and Brockton takes their buses are full every morning going to Boston.
Every day. So it's about us. These bridges are about us, about Cape Codders, about our quality of life and the economic impact, which we've actually tried to measure because there are data points that you can, it's multiplier effect. For every minute that you're stuck in traffic, you consider how many goods and services, how many people are late for appointments or work doesn't get done. So we have figured it's about a $30 million a year annual impact when there's lane drops just on one bridge. This year we're going to have lane drops on both bridges for a big chunk of the year.
Right, so the spring work is going to continue up until Memorial Day on the Sagamore. And then we get some traffic for the summer, which we all expect, and
they're all dollar signs.
We
come on
we
over.
know that. Come on over. And then in the fall, we turn around and we get that lane drop on the Bourne Bridge.
Right after Labor Day.
Right,
and that's our big concern for us because September's our second biggest month.
Right.
People don't think of it in the same way, but in the tourism industry, the kids are back in school, but you have the empty nesters, you have the international guests, you have motor coach season. So people are here staying in hotels, motels, and B&Bs. They're shopping in our bricks and mortar shops. They're keeping Cape Cod a real place. And we need that, and we value that, and we need to fix this. We can fix this. We're smart people.
Right.
We can fix it. We just have to demand it, and that's what the petition's all about.
Right. So how do people find this plan on the Army Corps of Engineers website? I mean, I'm intrigued. I want to see what it looks like. I'm sure I'm going to want to know how it's going to get paid for. I mean, those are those elephants in the room. What are we going to do about getting it paid for? But public-private partnerships, I'm sure we can work it out. But how do we look at that?
So right now we have the petition is on change.org.
Okay.
So the easiest way, it's got this big long URL, but because we're on TV, if you just go to change.org in your browser and search on that website for Cape Cod Canal bridges, it will pop up the petition. You have a link there to the scenarios, all 7 scenarios that Mass DOT ran with Army Corps. And then you can sign, click the button that says, join, I want to join the petition. Then we'll keep you updated regularly. There will be public meetings this spring to roll out some more information from Army Corps and from DOT. So people will want to know about that. And hopefully they come to some meetings and get well informed.
Right, so the more that the citizens engage in this process, the more that the higher ups in our state level and even federal level government say, well, gosh, it really looks like it is a problem. Is that what it is? There's over 2,000 signatures now on this petition in a very short period of time.
In a very short amount of time. And I think that as the summer goes along, we're going to have petition sign-up sheets in our visitor centers across the Cape. All the local chambers are joining in on the coalition and the petition. But I do think that people just need to have their voice heard. And we've been through this enough times now that it's getting to be, hey, Cape Cod's important. We're not just about the tourism industry. We have a very vibrant year-round economy, and we need 21st century infrastructure. We're not asking for much. We only have 2 roadways. We just need them to work well.
Right, exactly. So we want them to go to change.org, and they're going to put in the Cape Cod Canal Bridges. It should come up for the petition.
It'll say the Fix Coalition.
Get the petition signed, send it out to your friends because you can share it via social media. Much better than complaining on Twitter. So people will see this. Anything else that you want to kind of make residents aware of in this process?
Well, they should know that the construction company that has been hired to do the work, they're acutely concerned about our community too, and they have met with us and they have opened up new channels of communication because as David Zoppo has said, he goes, those are my trucks up on the bridge, not Army Corps trucks, and I want people to know that we care and that we're working around the clock. They're working 2 10-hour shifts, so there's only a short period of time when there's no work going on. And we asked, well, can you just work 24/7 and get the thing done and off the list? And he said, we could, but we're working with cement. Cement has to cure. And I said, well, can we at least put a sign up in those 4 hours where no one can see anything in the middle of the night? Just say, shh, cement curing or something. So we know that we know what's going on. So they have pledged to us if we have a question. I have the BAT phone line. I can call them immediately and say, all right, this is what we're hearing. Tell me what's really going on. And so we'll kind of get it from the horse's mouth. So if people are curious and want to know, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, and we'll keep you up to date.
That and luckily the DOT signs are out there. It does tell you how many minutes to the bridge. I won't, locals know some of the ways around. The Bourne Bridge is fully open, so 28 out to MacArthur and over the Bourne is definitely an option for folks. We'll bear through it. We'll get through May. We know how to do the summer, and hopefully folks out there are listening.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you for spreading the word.
We appreciate it.
Thanks.
We check in with Will Crocker, State Representative, on budget amendments in the State House. With me today is Will Crocker, representative for our district here in Barnstable, and you've told me that budget amendments have been filed. You've got lots of things to talk about today.
Yeah, we have filed the budget amendments. We do this every year as part of the budgetary cycle, and this is the time of year when we do it. Earlier this year, I had conversations with the town manager and asked him what he would like to see included in the state budget. We came up with a list of priorities, and this past week I filed them. And this week being April school vacation, there's not a lot of going on. We're just getting ready for next week, the week of the 23rd, which will be the budget week when we debate all of these specific amendments that all of the state reps have put in.
Right, so debates, discussions coming up. What are some of the highlights?
Well, some of the things that I have filed, one of the bigger ones was $120,000 for renovation work to the Kennedy Memorial. Not a lot of people know that that memorial, which kind of overlooks Veterans Beach and Lewis Bay, is owned by the town. The town constructed it back in 1966. And doing some research for the amendment, I found out that there has been no major work done on that memorial since it was constructed in the mid-60s. So it's due for some work. And Town Manager Mark Ellis said he came up with an outline for plans that he thinks that could be able to take care of that. So I've put in for $120,000. Some of that work will be the flagstone wall that's there, fixing that, repointing that, because after 50 some odd years, it needs that, and some work will need to be done on the bust and the seal on the other side, and the patio where the fountain is needs to be done over. That concrete terrace needs to be done over, and so we're budgeting in $120,000 for that. That's one of them.
That's a huge tourist attraction here, so we wanted to look its best and honor Kennedy's legacy there.
Right, absolutely. And the other thing is the fountain there, because a lot of people who come to visit throw coins in the fountain, and that adds up to a substantial amount of money, and that money goes towards a scholarship fund. So that money does not go for the monument's upkeep, it goes for a scholarship. So we're hoping that the $120,000 will go through, and we'll be able to do some of the repairs on that.
Excellent. Now, what else here?
We've got about $50,000 for the Cape Cod Rail Trail Alternative Study. Now, this is one of those crazy pieces of bureaucracy. In order for the Cape Cod Rail Trail to proceed from the town line in Yarmouth into Barnstable, Massachusetts Department of Transportation requires that an alternative route a plan for an alternative route be drawn up, because in case, for whatever reason, the original trail can't go through, if there are concerns about unfounded concerns about wetlands or unintended problems that come up, MassDOT requires that we have an alternative, and the $50,000 will go towards the study for an alternative route for the Cape Cod Rail Trail. And the other thing has to do with Blish Point down at the end of Millway Beach in Barnstable Village, to do some replenishment of the beach grass there and for some soil retention. And particularly this past winter has been very difficult winter in terms of losing a lot of beach area there, and we're putting in for $50,000 for soil retention or sand retention, and planting some beach grass there to keep the soil there.
Well, that's very important if we can stop some erosion over the course of all these storms that we seem to be having.
Yeah, we know it's going to happen.
Right.
It's just part of nature's cycle, but to be able to retain as much as we possibly can is a good thing.
So it looks like you've got a busy week of discussions and debates coming up on some of these items. Any other pieces in the House you want our residents to be aware of?
Well, I'm going to be just that we'll be working hard. I've got a year under my belt. That the first year it's a learning experience, so you're not exactly sure what you're going to be facing. Now that I've had one budget, and this is the second budget, I know. I know how the game is, and I know how it works, and I know the people I need to talk to, and I know exactly what people to meet with to be able to see if we can make this a go. Although we have a brand new House Ways and Means chairman, Chairman Sanchez has taken over from Chairman Dempsey, who has left the legislature. So this is his first budget. So we're not exactly sure what we're going to come up with, but I know what the situation is now, and who I need to talk to.
Well, thanks for working hard for the town of Barnstable and some of the initiatives that just makes our town better.
Well, thank you very much for having us.
Thanks, Will. Here are some highlights from the American Red Cross Heroes Breakfast held last Friday in Hyannis. On a somber gray morning, hours after the Cape Cod first responder community lost one of their own, it was a fitting tribute to honor several Barnstable residents at the Cape Islands and Southeast Massachusetts 16th Annual Heroes Breakfast. The morning started with a moment of silence for fallen Yarmouth police officer Sean Gannon and a moving rendition of Amazing Grace by the Brian Boru Pipe Band. The mood turned celebratory as the program started, emceed by Doug Meehan, co-anchor of WCVB Channel 5. The heroes were introduced by their nominators in the categories of Armed Forces, Community Impact, Community Service, Life-Saving, Individual with Disabilities, Professional, Red Cross, and Youth. Our Barnstable heroes included Mark Corliss, a Main Street business owner who owns the Spilt Milk Art Gallery and Tattoo Studio, who donates his time and talent to women who have had mastectomies. He said, "I love to put a smile on the face of someone who has been on a long, sad journey." Mark Adams and Linda Backus, staff members of Champ Homes, and Austin Davis, a resident of Champ Homes, were in the right spot at the right time when George Dakin, a visitor to Cape Cod, collapsed on the sidewalk of the Champ Homes campus. Although George was not breathing, Mark immediately began CPR, and he was quickly joined by Linda and Austin. They continued chest compressions until the Hyannis Fire Department arrived, and miraculously, George survived. They had been taught never to give up. Melissa Averinos, West Barnstable resident, witnessed her husband, Stuart Schulman, collapse in cardiac arrest last year. Melissa dialed 911 and began manual CPR on her husband, prompted by the operator, in which she had learned previously at a course at the West Barnstable Fire Department. Only about 6% of home cardiac arrests survive, and Melissa's husband's prognosis is for a complete recovery.
About 4 years before, he made me take a CPR class at West Barnstable Fire, and so that kind of kicked in when the 911 operator told me I needed to do compressions because he had a cardiac arrest. He was dead. They told me I needed to start compressions, and I knew how to do that because I had learned it at West Barnstable Fire.
6 months ago from today, actually, Friday the 13th, she saved my life when I collapsed at home, and I owe everything to her.
One day last spring, off-duty Hyannis Fire Department Lieutenant Thomas Landman III of Cotuit saw a shopper go down in BJ's in Hyannis. He had someone call 911 and immediately started CPR on the victim and administered 3 shocks via the AED. During transportation to the hospital, John Howard was alert and verbally responsive. Lieutenant Landman's decisive and immediate action saved John's life. A lifeguard at Craigville Beach, Jake Avery, 19, tested his life-saving skills when a father brought his baby, who was not breathing, to Jake. He immediately went into Lifeguard's emergency action plan. He jumped from his tower, assessed the child's condition, and began the baby shuffle. 5 compressions and 5 back blows to dislodge the piece of watermelon the baby had choked on. EMS on the scene reported that Jake was calm, effective, and professional, truly a life-saving hero here in Barnstable.
We're very fortunate to have such amazing people that work for us as lifeguards in the summer, and Jake's just a perfect example of everything that you want in an employee and a lifeguard.
Just proud that Jake really stepped into action, and all of our lifeguards trained so hard to be prepared for the moment that they need to act, and we're just couldn't be more proud than we are for Jake.
It really means a lot. It means a lot, especially for the town of Barnstable, getting the publicity that they deserve. It means a lot that I was nominated and that I was able to receive it.
And there was a special award today. You were also awarded the National Hero Award. Was that a very big surprise?
Yeah, I was not expecting it at all. It's really nice to just know. I guess it's nice for the Red Cross to know that what they're doing is working.
Take a look at the community calendar. April School Vacation Week at the Hyannis Youth and Community Center. Lots of opportunities for age-appropriate, supervised play that the whole family will enjoy is planned for next week at the HYCC. The staff is looking forward to seeing you. Public skating and open gym is scheduled every day, and the game room will be open at noon each day for K-12 school-age kids only. Annual memberships are available for $20, $40 non-residents, and give access to the youth center, walking track, and scheduled open gym times. Guest day passes are just $5. Rink activities are available for a separate fee. See the Town of Barnstable's website for an updated schedule and pricing information for rabies clinics, Sundays, April 22nd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. The Cape Cod Rabies Task Force has provided information about upcoming rabies clinics sponsored by Cape Cod Veterinary Offices and the Cape Cod Rabies Task Force. Barnstable Animal Hospital, 157 Airport Road, Hyannis, will host the Barnstable Clinic on Sunday, April 22nd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. One-year rabies vaccinations are $10 cash only, with official proof of current vaccination. A 3-year booster will be available. Dogs need to be on leashes, and cats and ferrets must be in carriers. We hope you'll join us again tomorrow for an update from the Barnstable Police Department. Nina Coleman will have a report from Sandy Neck, and the Mid-Cape Cultural Council will be in studio to discuss some exciting events and public art initiatives. We leave you today with this quote from Mr. Rogers. When I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, "Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping." I'm Paula Hersey, and thank you for watching Barnstable Today.